Hey, welcome back to the Big Red Zone. We are very excited for today's show. Remember, new episodes come out every Wednesday. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the like button as well on this video as well as all our other videos. You can also find us on Instagram and Twitter at Big Red Zone. You can also find us on TikTok at Big Red Zone. And tell a friend. This week, I'd have to say this is probably the best NFL playoff week I have seen in a long time. All four games were great. We'll break those down. We'll also try to get to Hall of Fame vote closes tomorrow, Tuesday, the 25th. So we'll kind of look at who's leading the pack, who's looking on the outside in, and maybe even take a look at who's going to be who's going to be making their first ballot next year. All that and more in this week's episode of the Big Red Zone. Welcome to the podcast. This is Big Red Zone. I'm your host, Big Red. As always, I am joined by Danny Football.
What's going on, Big Red? How we doing?
Oh, doing wonderful, Danny Football. Doing wonderful. I don't think I can complain after the football that we were given this weekend. It was absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable games. All four of them were great. Every time you thought one was like, this is the best game ever, it was overshadowed. That's why I was actually talking about this today and at work in the lunchroom. I kind of feel like the Bengals and the Packers game was almost overshadowed the next day by the Bucks, Rams, and Chiefs, Bills. Like I feel like every game got a little bit better and better as the weekend went on.
100%. It just kept ramping up. It was a big weekend for football, but you said it when we were, discussing in the pre-show. Man, you got a good little win yourself.
Oh, hey, big win for my boys freshman team. They did a great job on Friday. Beat a very good team, and it's a proud day. Fired me up. Fired me up for a little Saturday football. I will say that it was an unbelievable game. But I think without further ado, let's get into the first segment of the night, the weekend recap. It's the weekend recap. So for weekend recap, we're going to break down the four games this week. We're going to start with the first game, Titans versus Bengals. We both called this one. The Titans did have King Henry. I didn't think he was going to be cleared. He ends up getting cleared for this game, and he was definitely, that definitely was a game changer for them. He rushed for 62 yards. He rushed 20 times, and he had a touchdown. Probably wasn't, his normal King Henry self, but let's give him a little bit of some slack there. He has a metal plate in his foot. That's not where the problem lied for the Tennessee Titans. The problem was their quarterback. Threw 3 picks, including the one that ended up turning into the 3 points that won the game for the Bengals. You can't turn the ball over there, especially at midfield at the end of the game with a tie game going there. So I'd say he wasn't really the problem. A.J. Brown, unbelievable day for him. He had 142 yards and a touchdown. Julio Jones kind of came alive too. He had 6 catches for 62 yards. But I think the story of this Tennessee team, which I think it's coming to the crossroads. I think Ryan Tannehill did a good job for the last couple of years filling in and kind of keeping this team, as a serviceable quarterback. But if this team wants to take the step, and take the next step into becoming a contender, they need to move on from him and find a new guy at quarterback, because that's the one thing that's keeping this team back.
That's what I wanted to hit on right off the bat was this is a team that actively was not interested in Tom Brady when Tom Brady was making the rounds between will he stay with the Patriots, will he go somewhere else. The Titans were a possibility. They were a team that, for the most part, seemed like they were a quarterback away. They had the running back, they had the weapons at tight end when they had Jonnu Smith, they had A.J. Brown, they had all these weapons on offense. Their defense was solid. And this was a team that a lot of people said, if they can get Tom Brady there, that's a really good team. Not to say that the Bucs didn't have weapons as well, but the Titans were a possibility. And we find out later that the Titans weren't interested. They thought Tannehill was their guy and that they could just kind of ride with him. Not the case. Not the case. So you kind of nailed it. This is a Titans team that clearly needs an upgraded quarterback. I don't know what he was thinking throwing that pick with less than a minute left to kind of give the game away. We said it, you said it. King Henry did all he could to kind of get this team going. Dude comes back from a season-ending injury to suit up in the playoff game and still gives it his all. And Ryan Tannehill's out here, throwing gifts to the Bengals, who earned the game, man. They pretty much dominated the entire game except for the 3/4 of the fourth quarter. It's disappointing from a Titans perspective because you kind of limped your way into the playoffs with the 1 seed, and then you get your star running back, and your quarterback just kind of lays an egg. Joe, and you look across the sideline at Joe Burrow, he's ascending. Jamar Chase is ascending. We call him a good young team, but dude, they're 1 game away from the Super Bowl now, so it's looking like almost a changing of the guard. If things stay the same for Tennessee, I can't see that they're gonna kind of be stuck in this wild card divisional hellhole, and teams like the Patriots, Bengals are just going to pass them by.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, they're still a quarterback away. I still feel like that because they don't have Juanu anymore, but they have Julio Jones, who had the worst statistical year of his career, battled a little bit of injury. But I think a lot of that has to do with him not having Matt Ryan, who, as much as we give Matt Ryan some flack, Matt Ryan fed Julio Jones, and Matt Ryan is better than Ryan Tannehill. So, they have AJ Brown, they have Julio Jones, they have Derrick Henry. They can still add someone else on the offensive end. They're going to have a good court. They're going to have, their first round pick that they can go get a weapon, or they could try to draft a quarterback late. I think they need to go find one of these quarterbacks that is out there. And there is a few that are, I think at least, what's the word? Realistic. I think there's a couple of realistic options that they can get out there. I mean, I don't think the Aaron Rodgers of the world are going to come to Tennessee, but
right.
I feel like they can still get a serviceable quarterback, kind of like on a Jared Goff level. You know what I mean? And I think Jared Goff helps put them a little bit closer to there. And then they can at least draft a quarterback and hopefully hit on the quarter. You know what I mean? I just think they need to change it up from Ryan Tannehill. Whether or not you're getting an all-pro quarterback, that's obviously ideal, but I think they just need to change it up and find someone else, because Ryan Tannehill, as much as I gave him so much credit when he first came to Tennessee and he, kind of led this team to the playoffs, he's not doing it. And it's time to find someone, because when you have Derrick Henry on your team and you have AJ Brown and you have Julio Jones, when you have these guys, you got to try to make a run when you got them, because they're not going to be around here forever. Derrick Henry's not going to wait around, and have to carry the ball 42 times because Ryan Tannehill you can't trust him to throw the ball. You know what I mean? He's already had this big injury this year. He's not going to want to, risk injuring it even further. You know what I mean? So I think they gotta find a new quarterback. Definitely.
No, I agree. There's definitely a ceiling, and like you said, you don't want these weapons to go to waste. You don't want this team to go to waste. Mike Vrabel's a great coach. You don't want that to go to waste. But there is a ceiling, and the Bengals' ceiling is just higher. And
right.
You either gotta adapt or you're gonna fall by the wayside. And the Titans are in a dangerous place, like I said, of just being stuck in this purgatory of good enough to get in, but not good enough to compete. Mm-hmm. And soon enough, Mac Jones is going to put it together, and the Patriots are going to pass them by. The Bengals have already passed them by. The Ravens are going to get better. We don't know what the Pittsburgh quarterback situation is going to look like. They're going to get better. The conference is going to get better, and if the Titans aren't careful, man, they're going to become another team.
Yeah, and I was looking at this earlier because I'm in a dynasty league, so I'm starting to get ready for like the rookie draft, and we're going to have free agency soon and stuff like that. I forgot this guy was even on their team, but they have Dwayne Haskins on Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has Dwayne Haskins, who was a first round quarterback a couple of years ago. Who knows how he'll be in that offense? You know what I mean? Like, and they're probably going to draft someone. Also, my Aaron Rodgers prediction looks even more like a possibility after the game this weekend. If they could add, a top QB in the league. So you're right. Everyone's getting better. And there's a saying, adapt or die. I think you ever see Moneyball?
Yeah.
Billy Bean or Brad Pitt says that in that, like, he's like, adapt or die. Like, you gotta either move with the times or you're gonna just get left by in this, like you said, purgatory where they're making the wild card week, but they have a bad draft pick, but they don't do anything past that. So on the other side of the football, the Bengals, their ceiling just keeps getting higher and higher. And I mean, I'm starting to think this is the game that I wanted to see in the wild card weekend, Bengals KC, and we're finally going to get it. And I'm interested to see how these offenses do, because I don't know how that defense is really banged up on KC. So I think it's going to be a high scoring game if those guys are still out, because they have a lot of injuries on that secondary. I feel like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are just going to eat, man. This is another, I don't know how many games in a row Jamar Chase is at over 100 yards. Like, I feel like they're about to start eating. Joey Burrow did throw his first pick in like 2 months, but I think this team is just going to be, I think this is going to be a good game. Like,
I think this is gonna be another shootout, man. This is gonna be a crazy game.
But final thoughts on this game. Tennessee is on a dangerous spot, man. They need to figure out, and I like how you mentioned Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel is a very good coach, and they're wasting years with him, man, because they need to get someone in there to play quarterback. And the Bengals, I hope they go all the way to the Super Bowl. That's my team I'm rooting for the Super Bowl from the AFC. Looking at the 49ers, I think we're good to move on, right? You're good to move on? 49ers, Packers. Or should I say the Green Bay Chokers? Again, they just choke another game away. This is unbelievable. I'm not going to pick the 49ers to win because I want them to keep going. I'm doing some reverse psychology here. I think it would be awesome to see the Bengals play the 49ers in the Super Bowl. I just think that would be totally unbelievable, so fitting for this season. They're finding ways to win, man. That defense is really good. The 49ers defense, Nick Bosa is unbelievable. He's a machine. And I put it in the notes here. Green Bay had everything, all the elements going for them. They're at home in Lambeau. It's loud. It's cold. It's snowing. It's like the perfect weather and like home atmosphere for Green Bay. And having a California team that isn't used to snow, isn't used to the cold, isn't used to this weather, come in and have to win a game on the road. And I just think they let them stay around too long. When they were only up 7-0 going into halftime, I was like, that's not enough. Like, you need to put this team away. We talked about it with the Patriots when the Pats were the superior team in the matchup. They got to put those teams away early. And I guess the playoffs, there's not going to be any easy games, but on paper, this Green Bay Packers team is light years ahead of the 49ers. And, I just think they let them stick around. Special teams, that obviously was the disaster where they gave up the blocked field goal, the blocked punt, which turned into the tying 7, or I don't know if it was the tying. I think it was the tying 7 points.
Yep.
And my final thought, one of my final thoughts that I'll throw over to you, and then I'll throw it over to you, is this guy, the person carrying this team isn't the quarterback. It's not the running back. It's Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel is absolutely putting this offense on his shoulders and carrying. And I really makes me disappointed that we have N'Keal Harry and not Deebo Samuel.
Oh my God. No, I think you hit the nail on the head when you say the Packers messed around and let them stay in the game for too long. It was only a 7-point lead. We talk about the Packers having this prolific offense. You have Aaron Rodgers, who is a potential MVP candidate. The Devontae Adams, we know how good he's been all year. AJ Brown. Jesus, why can't I get this? I'm losing it. You got Jones, the running back. You got AJ Dillon, the running back.
Who did get
So-
hurt in that game. He
Right.
did.
So you have all these weapons. So naturally, the assumption is it's going to be a case of the Packers offense against the Niners defense. And the Niners defense, for the most part, stood up. Outside of that opening drive touchdown, they stood up.
Right.
Jimmy Garoppolo didn't play a good game by any stretch of the
No.
imagination. But again, you said it. They let them stick around. The defense held. Aaron Rodgers wasn't doing anything particularly crazy himself. And it came down to special teams. You block a kick, you recover it in the end zone. It's a tie game. It's anyone's ball game at that point. And then all it takes is a little bit of luck. And all of a sudden, before you know it, the Packers are going home. The favorite in the NFC, for all intents and purposes, the favorite in the NFC is now gone. And you have a Niners team who, while they didn't play the most attractive looking game, like I said with the Bengals, they're one game away. You don't need to put up 50 points to win games. If the defense is going to be this solid and all you need to do is put up one touchdown, the Niners are built for it. I mean, do I think that's going to be the case when they go against the Rams? I don't know. Because again, it's going to be a case of the Niners defense against a prolific offense that the Rams have. So I'm picking the Rams, but this Niners team is surprising everyone, man. This is crazy.
Now, here's the defense in the last two. I'm just gonna go through the last few weeks and the teams they played, the 49ers team. And they had to win to get into the playoff. Like they had to keep winning to get into the playoffs. They held the Packers, who, like we said, was a potential contender to win the Super Bowl, to 10 points. They had the Cowboys, who we talked about their prolific offense, to 17 points. They beat the Rams in overtime the final week of the season. And that was a big game for both teams. Both teams were trying to win. They held them to 24 points. They won 27-24 in overtime. They held the Texans to 7 points, not too impressive. They lost to the Titans, but held them to 20 points. They held the Falcons to 13. I'm trying to say they held the Bengals. They beat the Bengals in overtime, 26-23. So kind of looking at their scores here, and also I just want to point out they're 2-0 against the Rams this season in the regular season. And I told you they beat the Rams 27-24 the final week. They beat the Rams November 15th, 31-10. They've held the Rams to 10 points and 24 points. Now, I think it's going to be more like the January 9th game, the last game of the season on Sunday. That game was home. The game they won in the overtime one. So the 40, if I'm Sanford, I have the confidence to beat this team. Like I've done it twice. It's hard to do it 3 times in a season, but we've done it twice. We've done it in their home field. And it's on the back of their defense. Their defense holds teams to under 20 points. When they hold a team to under 20 points, under 20 to 24 points, they win a lot of their games. Like if we look at a lot of their losses, the Cardinals beat them. They had 30 points. The Seahawks beat them. They gave up 30. The Colts beat them with 30. It's like those teams, the Packers Jeepers. The Packers beat them with 30 points. So if the defense is on and they're playing well, I like you said, the offense doesn't really have to do anything because they just have to get in field goal range a couple times and get one touchdown. And if the other team's only getting 10 points in the game, it's like they don't really need to score a lot. They just need to keep them in the game. So this has a lot of the feel when you were talking and when we were getting ready for the show, I was saying this 49ers team feels a lot like their last Super Bowl run when they lost against the Chiefs. I mean, Jimmy wasn't doing anything special. He wasn't the reason they were there. He just kind of kept them in the game, and the defense was what kind of won games. And if Jimmy can just limit mistakes and not make mistakes and just kind of keep it, not turn the ball over and just keep it, the offense in the game and keep them in, field goal range and try to get a touchdown on the board, I feel like the defense is going to take care of the rest.
I couldn't agree more. I'm right there with you. This was This was a win I did not see coming. Me and a lot of other people spent the entire season wondering when Jimmy G was going to lose his job. And again, he is one win away from going to his second Super Bowl with the 49ers. So, for all intents and purposes, this team was written off and they're just finding ways to win. So, it's surprising, but this dude wants to keep his job. And whether he's playing his best football or not, he's winning games. And that's all that matters at the end of the day.
Hypothetical question. If the 49ers make it to the Super Bowl, do they move on from Jimmy? Like, do they go put the keys to the castle and the young guy? I feel like it's hard to do that.
If they go to the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
I think at that point you have to ride with the hot hand. If Jimmy G's somehow getting you these wins, you got to let him go. Keep going with him.
I mean, next year. Right?
Next year.
I'm talking next year. If Jimmy gets you to the Super Bowl, do you say Jimmy's our quarterback next year?
If he wins the Super Bowl, or if he just gets them there.
If he gets them there, they'll do both.
They get there and they lose?
They lose to the Chiefs. Say they lose to the Chiefs.
I think he gets to start next. Oh, no. Is this his contract year?
I thought he's still under contract, no?
If he's still
I'll look it up.
If he's still under contract, then he should be able to start the season. See where it goes from there. If this is a contract year, that's a kind of a harder question because maybe they just let him go for the money and then try to get some more weapons around Trey Lance. But I think if he's under contract, you got to at least keep riding with him.
No, he's an unrestricted free agent. It's 2022 season. Yeah, he's in the last year of his deal.
So he has a year left after this, or
this is it? No, this is it.
Ah, man. Then I think
they let him walk.
I think they would think about letting him walk and just use the money for other pieces. They already have Trey Lance. I think you're right.
I thought he had another year left on his deal when I asked that question. If he wins you the Super Bowl, do you let him walk?
If he wins you the Super Bowl, I think you bring him back. If that's a crazy move to not bring back a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
See, I think this is a guy that could end up going to this like a team like the Titans as a free agent. I feel like the Titans are looking for a guy. I just don't see, even if he wins the Super Bowl, that makes it really tough, man, because it's tough to, this guy just won us a Super Bowl and all right, thank you very much. See you later. As a quarterback. But the thing is, like, are you going to spend all that money for a quarterback when you have this young guy? Like, it's like we talk about with Mac Jones, you got to go get weapons to feed around him. And the 49ers they have some young guys, but, I feel like they still need some. I don't know. That's a tough call. That's why I brought it up. I think it's like a tough call that they got to make. If he keeps winning games, I feel like that's hard to pass him up.
It's only going to get tougher the more games he wins. I don't know how they're going to make that decision, but it's going to be a tough one.
I mean, and if he wins a Super Bowl, I feel like there's going to be some teams that are very, very interested in him. We were looking at it earlier because we were talking about top quarterbacks in the league. And I mean, the Broncos are kind of at that crossroads where they don't have a quarterback. The Steelers don't have a starting quarterback. The Texans, they're kind of in limbo. The Titans need that quarterback. Washington doesn't have a quarterback. The Giants are at a crossroads. So it's who knows with the Falcons or the Saints or the Lions. Who knows with those teams. So that's a guy that I would keep an eye on. If he keeps winning games, he's going to get a shot somewhere to start. And I trust that somehow Jimmy gets you wins. I don't know how it is because it's not him. I guess I don't know what it is, to be honest with you. And the last thing I'll say on this game is after them choking that game away, I don't see how Aaron Rodgers comes back.
No, it's looking pretty definitive that he's done in Green Bay. It's looking like it's over. That had strong Brady loss to the Titans vibes.
Yeah, I feel like that's I think it's a done deal. So moving on to, again, Sunday seemed to be the best of the 2 days, but not to take anything away from Saturday's game because those were unbelievable. Bucks Rams. Speaking of Tom, it was another great Why did I have Green Bay Chokers? It was another great end to the game. Tom and the Bucks. I turned the game on late, and they were already down 26-3. Shocker. And I looked at I was watching with my dad, and I was like, Dad, this isn't over. Tom's gonna lead a comeback right here. I was like, this is just typical Tom. He's gonna lead a comeback here. And sure enough, they do. I feel like I understand the situation where you're down 14, you don't want to kick a field goal, you want to go for it. But I feel when you're 4th and 9 in field goal range, I don't know about you, but I'd take the points. I don't know. And I can't really fault them for going for it because you're down 14. But if you do that, at least you're getting points on the board every time. And I don't know. I understand both ways, but Tom ties it up with what was it, 45 seconds left?
Yeah.
And they kick off. Stafford and Cup make 2 big clutch plays, including the final one that was 50 yards. They sprint down the field. Everyone, I was I was speechless because I thought this game was going to overtime. And they get down there with a few seconds left. And Matt Gay sends his old team packing. I will say that's one of the worst defensive calls I've seen to blitz when you just need to keep pretty much contained. That's all you have to do. You send 3 guys, and if you have the guy catch it on the at the 50, you still waste time. You know what I mean? I feel like that was a bad call to blitz in that situation, to leave no one covered. Man-to-man coverage. That's a lot of room for error. I think that was a real mess up by the defense. In all intents and purposes, the beginning of that game, the defense was pretty awful. They woke up and they made some big game-saving plays, getting turnovers. But I mean, that was pretty bad. The beginning and that last play of the game was pretty bad defensive call.
Yeah, this was a game that I turned on late. I had a soccer game, so I was missing it. So when I was leaving my game, I saw that I think it was 20-3 at that point. I can't remember. I think it was around there. So I was driving home thinking it was over. Little did I know that, I had seen this movie a million times before, and Tom Brady's never done until the clock hits 0. Goes on a mad dash to come back, nearly pulls it off, and unfortunately falls short in the last couple seconds. And now I don't want to take anything away from the Rams because the Rams have had a great season. You were the first one on the Matt Stafford bandwagon before anyone else. They've had a great season, and they're going to continue to have a great season, seeing that they're playing in the NFC Championship game. But like we mentioned with the Packers, this is another top-tier team that, for some reason, just couldn't get it done. And this is the defending Super Bowl champs. They did this last year. They've proven themselves, and to fall short in the divisional round is very surprising, all things considered. I know they lost AB and Godwin. They didn't have their full, array of weapons, but this is a tried and tested team. And now they have to look to themselves in the mirror this offseason and say, what do we need to do to get better? Because now the Rams are better than us. The 49ers made it further than us. And there's we were talking about Justin Herbert earlier. There are a lot of young quarterbacks in this league that these teams are going to keep getting better, and they're going to bypass the teams that don't. And now we're seeing reports that Tom Brady isn't fully committed to next season. So I was strapped in and ready for a Tom Brady comeback, and it never happened. So this is going to be an interesting offseason for the Bucs.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I even tweeted it out. I thought after that game, I was never more, and this was the first time I was so confident in many years that Tom Brady wasn't retiring. I thought there was no way Tom Brady was going to go out the way he went out. He's not going to lead a comeback, and the defense gives up a crap play and they kick a field goal to send him home in the divisional round. There's no way that was going to happen. Tom Brady shouldn't go out like that. He should go out winning a Super Bowl. That's Tom Brady. And he's in a good place to do that. So I felt like there was no way he's done. Now we're hearing reports he's not committed. He could, and this could be all talk, but I mean, the Bucs are in rough shape if Tom leaves or retires. I don't think he's going to leave them.
They're really back to square one if he leaves, man.
Because he's the only reason this team was relevant. Don't forget, 2 years ago, this team was a dumpster fire. It was a terrible team. They had Jameis Winston, who was a pretty good young quarterback who just threw a lot of picks. And they were, middle of the road to bad at best. So this team, and once Tom leaves, you're going to see a lot more people leave. Because it's the Tom Brady effect.
Free agent.
Chris Godwin.
Gronk will probably retire again.
Gronk will retire. And now you're back to just having Mike Evans. Leonard Fournette will go find another team. A lot of these guys on defense that were good that came here to play with Tom, they're going to try to find their way out or retire. So, and now you're just left spending a lot of money on Ndamukong Suh and JPP and have a lot of money tied up with some of these veteran guys. And, there's not a lot of, you just got to try to turn around and build the draft. And they do have some good young pieces on the line. They do have, Mike Evans. They just drafted that running back. What's his name? Forget his name, but he's a good young running back. They have Ronald Jones. They do have Cameron Brates is good. Like they do have good young pieces, but Tom Brady is the X factor. He makes that team what it is. And if he retires, man, this Bucs team is just what a short window they had. And I mean, we kind of knew that window was going to be small, but I just thought there's no way Tom is going out losing in the divisional round the way he lost. So, but then again, I never thought he was going to lead the Patriots going out in the divisional round, throwing a pick six to the Titans. So, I don't know. I don't think this is the end of Tom Brady but if it is, let's all appreciate and respect, thank this guy, because we're never going to see another Tom Brady play for as long as we live. It's like when Mike retired. It's like there's never going to be another Michael Jordan.
No, you're 100% right. I agree.
But the Rams move on, man. The Rams potential now Super Bowl. I got to say, from the NFC, they're favorites to come out of the NFC without a doubt. And, I think they can give I think that would be a fun Super Bowl against the Chiefs or the Bengals.
Rams
so
Chiefs would be a crazy Super Bowl.
It would be just an offensive showcase. I feel like the Rams have to kind of win the Super Bowl because they have no draft picks. They've spent so much money. Talk about going all in on a.
They've been doing it for. You want to talk about a kind of forgotten, quote unquote, dynasty? This Rams team is only a couple years removed from that Patriots Super Bowl, and all they've done since is spend, and then they make the big change of quarterback. This is a team that never really gave up on their window, so see if they can jump on it. This is it.
Yeah, they especially when they made the trade for Matt, and they made the trade for Von Miller, which I think. I mean, I questioned it when they did it. I think that was the season-changing trade. Like, that's how you make your team even better. They just having him with Aaron Donald on the same team, and that I forget his name, but the other linebacker or defensive end who's kind of stepped up. But having Aaron Donald on one side and putting Von Miller on the other side, I mean, that is just that's nasty, and that really helps their defense. And I think that's going to be. I mean, talk about pushing all your chips to the middle of the table and saying all in. They're all in, and I'm kind of excited because I hope they win. It's like the Dave Dombrowski effect, just trading all your youth and giving all your young.
Mortgage the future, my man.
Mortgage the future for that Super Bowl, and I think of all the years, I think this could be the year they do it. Let's move on to the Chiefs Bills. This was the game of the weekend, I think. This was just an unbelievable game. It's the two best quarterbacks in the AFC. And one may argue it's the two best quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, it's not – I don't know if you could say that with Tom and Aaron Rodgers, but it's two of the top four two of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. I think Josh Allen, my takeaways from this, I mean, we can get into the the overtime rules after the game. We talk about the game, but I think what solidified this for me is Josh Allen proved he's Josh Allen. He is one of the greats in this league. He proved it. He put a team on his back. He made the big plays when he needed to. I mean, not taking anything away from Patrick Mahomes because he did that too, but we kind of already know that. Patrick Mahomes is now going to his 4th straight AFC championship and could be his 3rd straight Super Bowl. So he's kind of already proven that. But Josh Allen, he has proven that, I think. Now, even though they lost, that's not on Josh Allen's conscience. He did his thing. And I was so against the Bills, and I really was like hoping for them to go up in flames. But Josh Allen, I'm a Josh Allen fan. I can't help but root for this guy. Like this, you can't help but root for Josh Allen, and he's the dude. He's the guy. And also, the other thing was, if anyone was nervous about the Chiefs like a month or two ago, there's no need to be nervous about this team. This team is solid as long as they got that guy named Patrick Mahomes playing quarterback for them. So. Unbelievable game. We can talk about the overtime rules after, but that was my main 2 takeaways after watching that game.
Yeah, it was an insane game. Just when I thought it was over, something crazy happens that it's only just the beginning.
13 seconds.
You hit it on the head when you said these are 2 of the better quarterbacks in the league. These are obviously like 1A and 1B. Josh Allen slinging it, Pat Mahomes slinging it, and this is a rematch from last year where the Bills had a whole year to kind of stew on getting beat last year. So they came out with a whole full head of steam. They wanted revenge. They had something to play for. They had something to prove. And 13 seconds left, man. And you talked about it with the Bucs game and blitzing. I hate prevent defense, man. I hate prevent defense. And that's what killed the Buffalo Bills in this game because 13 seconds left. I understand they had timeouts, but you gotta roll with what got you to the dance, man. To leave the field that wide open for them to go 44 yards in 13 seconds for an easy field goal, it drives me crazy. And we saw it with the Cowboys. I mean, Dak Prescott could barely get a QB draw off in 13 seconds, and Pat Mahomes is going the length of the field in 13 seconds. It drives me nuts when teams kind of go into that prevent defense because it's not preventing anything. All you're doing is inviting a chance for the other team. And the Bills blew it, man. I mean, for Josh Allen to go down the field in the amount of time he had to score with 13 seconds left, that should be it. I mean, the game should be really done and dusted. Mm-hmm. But the defense fell flat. And this is a defense that's been vaunted all season long. Leslie Smith leads it. They did a number with the Patriots last week. And this Chiefs offense, man, is just so dangerous that it really does make me wonder who's going to come out of that Bengals game because it's going to be a shootout. It's going to be a crazy, crazy game where maybe the winner is whoever's defense can finally make a stop. So it was a very entertaining game, but my biggest takeaway was I hate when teams just kind of lay back on defense and let the other team kind of make their way down the field. I'd rather you just play a normal defense and try to win the game.
Here's my thing too. I think they screwed up with the kickoff. And I heard Tony say this, and I completely agree with him. I don't know how you kick a touchback there. You need to, I think you squib it. You get, you think about it, you get at least 3 seconds off the clock, maybe even 5 seconds off the clock. Now you have 9 seconds to go the length of the field. I mean, how do you not do that? Like giving a touchback a full 13 seconds for Pat Mahomes to go, just get in field goal range when you have Bucker. They were talking about he was, the best kicker they were comparing him to Justin Tucker in the game.
Right before the Kelsey catch, he was fully prepared to kick a 60-yard field goal.
Yeah.
He was fully prepared. The commentators were mentioning that he was hitting it from deep 50 in warmups. he was ready to do a 60-yarder. He was ready and willing to do it. And like I said, they drop into a prevent defense and Kelsey runs a backyard football route, gains all the yards they needs, and then he ends up kicking a barely 45, which is easy money for him. So that's my biggest thing. I
think they screwed up on the kick. I think they should have squibbed it, mark time off the clock. Now you don't have 13 seconds, you have 9 seconds, right? Even if they get at least 4 seconds there, right? They get at least 4 seconds off a squib kick or a, kicking it deep, but not in the end zone, not a touchback. You get at least 4 seconds off the clock. Now it's 9 seconds. You think Patrick Mahomes goes the length of the field in 9 seconds? It's hard to say. Maybe he does, but I think that's when you play your prevent defense and you play prevent defense with 9 seconds. I don't think they're going 40 yards in 9 seconds. I just don't see that. Or not 40 yards. They're going the length of the field in 9 seconds. So I think that's where they messed up. You're right. I mean, they just let them catch easy passes. I get it. But when you go to the middle of the field and you're at the 35, the 40-yard line, you can't let them catch that ball. That's not prevent defense. That's no defense.
Right.
So I see what you're saying, but I think the mistakes were made prior to that defensive play. A lot is being made to do over, the overtime rules. If the team that wins the coin flip gets a touchdown first, they win the game. Where do you stand with that? Do you like the rule, or do you think it needs to change?
I think it should go to the college rule of just doing a shootout. You start at the 20, you get 4 shots at it. If you score, just keep going. I think it should be the college.
See, I don't mind either way. Here's the thing. I don't mind either way. I don't mind the college rules. I think are entertaining. With football, with the NFL, how they do it, if you score a touchdown and you win the game, I don't necessarily mind that either. The thing that I just don't like is they're saying that once the person that wins the coin flip, that's who's winning the game. And to me, that's a problem, because that means your defense, you have zero faith in your defense getting a stop. And if you have zero faith in your defense getting a stop, then you don't deserve to win the game. That's just my feeling on it. You do have a chance to win the game. Your defense goes out there and has a chance to get a stop. If you don't think your defense is going to get a stop, then what are we doing here? Eventually the defense, because otherwise, what's the point? Let's just see who can score a touchdown faster. I just don't get. I think that's. I just hate that narrative that if whoever wins the field goal, whoever gets the coin toss, you're gonna win the game, because that means your defense stinks. And I don't know. I just think that if you're going for a chance to go to the AFC Championship game and you have zero faith that your defense is going to be able to stop anyone, then I don't think you deserve to be there.
So you think it should go to college rules?
No, I'm saying I'm not. My thing is, I honestly don't care. I think it's fine the way it is. I think college rules would make it entertaining. But for people that are complaining, saying that, it's not fair because our offense doesn't get a shot, our team doesn't even get a shot to win the game. No, you do get a shot. You get a shot to stop them and go score the touchdown.
Right.
Or score. I just think
it's the same Chiefs fans that were complaining when we did it to them back in 2018. So.
Right. And now the Chiefs fans,
right. Now they're all about it.
Yeah. I just think that the defense is out there to get a stop. That's your way you have a chance to win the game. If you don't think you have a chance to win the game, then that means you have no faith in your defense to get a stop. And I'm sorry, but you have no business being on the field if you have a terrible defense in the playoffs.
Right.
Just go home. That's my 2 cents. I get what you're saying. I feel like, and I think they have made that attempt, because if you just kick a field goal, you can just get. That's why I kind of like the field goal rule. If you kick a field goal, you get a chance to go tie it up, because really, if you have Justin Tucker in a team, you just have to get over the 50, and then that's not a defense failing. That's just an offense doing bare minimum, and they have a really good kicker. But to score a touch, I mean, I feel like the Bills defense didn't get a stop. They just couldn't stop them, and that's why they lost. They didn't lose because of they didn't win a coin flip. It's because they couldn't get a stop on D when it mattered. So, and if you look at it, they let Mahomes march down the field, score a touchdown within 2 minutes. Then when you score a touchdown to go in, you gave 13 seconds. You let the offense marching at a field goal. Like, let's be real here. The defense stunk at the end of that game. They were tired and they stunk. That's the reason you lost the game. So it wasn't because of a coin flip. But Josh Allen has nothing to hang his head at. I think he did it unbelievable. And I'm excited to see. Someone compared these two to Manning and Brady, like back when they were both running the AFC. I think that's a fair comp. I think those two are going to be running the AFC for the next, 10, 20 years. They could, if they stay in there, they could be running the league for the next 10, 15, 20 years. All right, let's move on. We're going to preview the AFC and the NFC championship game in this segment of Picks of the Week.
Picks of the Week.
So for Picks of the Week, we usually pick one game, but we've been picking all the playoff games. I have tied it up, Danny Football, 15-10 with my KC pick over the Bills. That was the tying factor. Let's start with this, the AFC, KC versus the Bengals. Who do you got in this matchup?
I'm going to go Chiefs.
I really thought you were going to go Bengals.
I'm going to go Chiefs. My heart says Bengals, but my head says Chiefs.
I agree. I'm going to go Chiefs over Bengals. I really want the Bengals to win and go to the Super Bowl, but I just take experience over youth, and the Chiefs have been there before, man. They're here. They've been in this situation for the last 4 years, and 3 of them have worked out in their favor. And in a shootout, I'm going to take Patrick Mahomes all day long. So I'm going Chiefs over Bengals. Who do you got in the NFC championship game?
I'm going to take the Rams over the Niners. This is a Rams team that I kind of called that if they looked good against that. Who did they play in the wild card? Man,
The Cardinals.
I kind of said it, man. If they looked good against the Cardinals, I gave them a shot against the Bucs, and they did it. So that's why I wanted to stay away from just picking the Bucs over the winner of the Cards-Rams game. I think this offense is just built to cut through any sort of defense. So many weapons. Matthew Stafford's had such a great year. I think the luck runs out. I think the Rams are going to go to the Super Bowl. It's time's up for the Niners.
Yeah, I think as much as I kind of want to see a rematch of the Super Bowl 2 years ago and see if the 49ers can pull one out, because they were right in that game a couple years ago.
They were Emmanuel Sanders catch away.
Yeah, so I as much as I'd like to see them, this was the game. I battled with the KC Bengals game. I didn't spend any time thinking about this one. I'm going Rams over 49ers. So we won't have a winner next week. We'll have to see in the Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean, when I said my preseason picks, did I say the regular season MVP would be Matt Stafford? I think I meant the Super Bowl MVP would be Matt Stafford. So I just think he's playing out of his mind. The team is playing great. They looked great against the Bucs for most of that game, and they made the plays when they counted. So I'm going Rams over 49ers. I think the luck's going to run out, like you said. So we'll have to see. Do you want to make if you had to guess with this group that we at least 4 teams, which team do you think is going to win the Super Bowl? Right now you have the KC Rams Super Bowl.
I think Rams.
I think the Rams beat the KC.
I think they have a better defense than the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, you'll have to see. Tyrann Mathieu being out of that Chiefs defense is a huge loss for them. So I kind of want to see how he does and how he recovers. But I agree. I think their defense overall is better in LA. And I also want to see the Rams win. Like I don't want to see KC win. I want to see Matt Stafford's my guy. when I really became a Matt Stafford fan was that mic'd up when he dislocated his elbow at shoulder and still threw a game-winning touchdown or game-winning.
Yeah, that was crazy.
It was unbelievable. It was a game-winning touchdown. So I just love that guy, and he won me a fantasy football Super Bowl. So I've also been a big fan of him. So I got my ring because of him. He deserves to get his own ring. Let's move on to some quick updates here. I don't want to spend much time. We'll go quickly over this one. Real quick, 2 seconds of thoughts. Celtics blow 2 games early in this league this week. And then Jason Tatum looks awful. And then Jason Tatum scores 51 points and they beat the Wizards. They're in 8th place in the division. They're 2.5, I think, behind the Michael Jordan's team, the Hornets. I can't believe.
Oh.
Jeepers crow. I'm having a brain farts tonight. So my 2 cents, we talked about it pre-show. They are who they say, who we think they are. They're, we were talking about last week when they won, 7 of whatever their last 10. I don't know if that even made it to air. I think we ran over time. I don't think that made it to air, but they won 7 of the last 10 last week. They're a 7-8 seed in the East. They're 500 team. Just hope maybe something comes together. They make some trades. That's my 2 cents on the Celtics.
Yeah, I don't want to get too into it. For every time it seems like they kind of figured it out, they fall back down to earth. So it's just going to be a case of spinning their wheels until the playoffs come around, if they make it.
If they can make it, I think they'll make at least the playing games, but
right,
we'll have to see. What I really want to talk about is the Hall of Fame vote for the MLB is finalizing tomorrow afternoon, night, something like that. 6 o'clock in the evening. We could see our first ballot Hall of Famer, David Ortiz. It's looking more and more like that. Oh man, this is not looking good. Went down a little bit since the last time I he has currently on this website that's tracking the ballots. I don't know how accurate this is, but they said they have 48% of the ballot is known. And David Ortiz is currently leading all people with 84.6% of the vote. Remember, you need 75. Behind him is Barry Bonds with 77.7 and Roger Clemens with 76.6. So both, Clemens and Bonds are close. I would love to see them get in. I hope they get in with this vote. It would be crazy. So just initial thoughts. I think both of us are very happy to see these 3 in the green.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing is I want Clemens and Bonds in there. You say it all the time. You can't tell the story of baseball without them. Roger Clemens there's a very good argument. He's the greatest pitcher of all time. Barry Bonds, the home run leader. David Ortiz, maybe the clutchest player of all time. So for Poppy to be first ballot, it's deserved. For Roger Clemens to finally get in, it's deserved. For Barry Bonds to finally get in, it's deserved. You were talking about Curt Schilling, who somehow is losing.
He lost 10%. He lost 11% of votes. He must have been. I told Danny Football he had a terrible year. He must have had a terrible baseball season this past year because lose 11%.
When that kind of stuff is going on, it's just disheartening that a guy can lose that much ground just because people don't like his political views or his personality. So as much as I want to give the writers credit that it's refreshing that they're going to let Rodgers or they're going to let Clemens or Bonds in, they turn around and screw Curt Schilling, which is unfortunate because it is his last year on the ballot. So I don't want to give him too much credit.
Yeah. Our favorite sports writer, Dan Shaughnessy of Boston, but David Ortiz went on the air and called him a not nice word. Because Dan Shaughnessy didn't vote for David Ortiz. I want to add that. Dan Shaughnessy has voted for Curt Schilling almost every year except for this year. And he said, and I quote, like a couple of years ago, the case is made for Curt Schilling to be a Hall of Famer. And to turn around and take away your vote, and to vote for a guy for 9 years and then not vote for him, or vote for him for 8 years and not vote for him the last 2 years, whatever it was. I think you should lose your vote, to be honest with you, because if you vote for a guy once, I don't see how you don't vote for him again.
Well, I mean, it's Exhibit A as to why the Hall of Fame voting is broken. That these guys look at outside circumstances and not their baseball prowess and decide to vote or not vote for him. The fact that Curt Schilling can have the resume that he has, but because people don't agree with his views or his way of life or his business practices, anything like that, the fact that they can take it so personally as to take it upon themselves to rob him of a Hall of Fame spot is insane. And Dan Shaughnessy is Exhibit A. Votes for him. Then as soon as, he probably does something that Dan Shaughnessy doesn't like, he says, well, I'm not going to vote for him now.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with his baseball ability. And it's disappointing. And I think I keep calling him Don. I do think that Dan Shaughnessy's an asshole.
Yeah.
How do you not vote for David Ortiz? You covered the guy his entire career. You put food on your table off of his name. That dude made your life so much easier to cover because the team was good, the team was winning, and he was a bigger than life character. And you have the absolute
stones.
You have the gall to not vote for him based on what?
Yeah.
If it's an alleged steroid use, I mean, you didn't really break your back doing that reporting in Boston.
Yeah.
Never really came up, did it? So I don't understand where Shaughnessy gets off. I can only imagine he does it on purpose for views and clicks and, just trying to get clout off of being the guy from Boston who didn't vote for David Ortiz, and that makes him cool. But fuck him.
That's the problem, though, because this shouldn't be about clout or gaining ground. That's why.
Well, that's half the reporters in the game at this point, man. That's all they care about is they know people don't want to read their stupid articles anymore, so they come up with this outrageous bullshit.
Yeah.
And what are you going to click on? Dan Shaughnessy, why the Red Sox are, one piece away from winning the World Series, or you're going to click on Dan Shaughnessy, only Globe reporter to not vote for David Ortiz. I know what I would click on. I hate that I would click on it, but I click on it regardless. And that's all he wants. He just wants people, to keep his name in his mouth because he's the edgy guy who didn't vote for David Ortiz.
Yeah. And I honestly think, especially why I think they shouldn't make the Hall of Fame vote public. I feel like it should be private. You shouldn't.
It should be private, but then you have morons like Dan Le Batard who outwardly says he didn't vote for anyone, or he only voted for one person, or he didn't do this, he didn't do that. Yeah. We had the one Jeter guy a couple of years ago. I can't imagine he kept it to himself, but I can only imagine he was jonesing to be the only I didn't vote for Jeter guy. Yeah. So it becomes a gimmick at this point for these guys.
Yeah, which is a shame because this is I take the Hall of Fame seriously. This is the best of the best. And I mean, you could tell when the guys give their Hall of Fame speeches and when they accept being inducted, it means a lot to these guys. This is the pinnacle. This is the greatest achievement you can make playing this sport. And we have guys wasting it so they can get some more, some clicks. It's ridiculous. It really is annoying. And now Curt Schilling will never, has a very low chance. I don't think he'll ever be in the Hall of Fame. And he was a nails guy. He was an unbelievable player. Another guy that's going to be off the ballot is Sammy Sosa. He wasn't even close. He only had 24% of the vote so far. I mean, again, it could change, but I don't see that changing. Some guys that were first ballots, I think, or first or seconds that didn't get enough. And this isn't a shock to us. I think you have to get at least 5% of the vote to stay on the ballot. Tim Lincecum is off. Tim Hudson's off, or is in the red right now. If he gets a few more percent, I guess he can stay on. Joe Nathan's going to be off. Torrey Hunter, Ryan Howard, AJ Brzezinski, Morneau, Teixeira, Papelbon, Jake Peavy, Prince Fielder, and Carl Crawford are all going to be in the red off. Jake Peavy, Prince Fielder, and Carl Crawford all have 0%. And this was drives me nuts. Someone voted for Papelbon, Teixeira, Morneau, and Brzezinski. They have 0.5% of a vote. If these guys were voted for over Kurt Schilling, that's
they
a
were.
problem.
That's the thing is that they were.
And there's some bum that just voted for Mark Teixeira and didn't vote for anyone else. And that is the inherent problem with this voting. And I think you're right. You mentioned it. The writers shouldn't vote. It should be players. It should be the players, like the Retired Players Association, whatever it's called. And even throw the Players Association in there. Maybe the current Players Association votes because it's guys that play the game, not Dan Shaughnessy, who probably got cut from his T-ball team, deciding who's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Like it's such a shame. And it's not just for Kurt Schilling's sake. Like there's guys that like Roger Clemens that is on the cusp, and like you said, he's one of the greatest pitchers of all time. There's an argument that he is the greatest pitcher. Barry Bonds, same thing. He didn't vote for David Ortiz, who is the greatest. He redefined the designated hitter position. He's the reason that without David Ortiz, there isn't the argument now that they should get rid of they should just make designated hitters for both leagues. You know what I mean? And not have the pitcher hit in the NL. Like he pioneered that position because, he wasn't the greatest fielder, but man, could he hit. And that created that spot, and he was clutch. So I don't know. I think it's a little ridiculous. It's annoying, but we'll have to see tomorrow. Like I said, there's only 48% of the vote announced or accounted for or known. It's ballots known. So we'll have to see. Clemens is right there. It's 75%. He's at 76. The higher end is 76, 76.6. But, he's close to, a couple votes don't go his way. He could be out of it. I hope those three guys get in. I know Kurt Schilling kind of has no shot. Scott Rowland's also, he's in that fourth spot. He has 70.2% of the vote so far. So he's kind of on the outside looking in. He needs 5% more to get in. I don't think it's going to happen, but he's also on like year 5. So who knows, because a lot can happen the next year. I mean, we saw with Kurt Schilling, he had a terrible offseason this year, and he lost over 11% of his voting. So who knows what happened with Scott Rowland? This is just crazy. I can't talk about this. It just gets me more and more ticked off. So let's move on to the last segment of the night, the People's Topic.
It's the People's Topic, baby! People's Topic.
Okay, so for People's Topic, you write on our Instagram and Twitter page at Big Red Zone. Leave us a comment, give us a topic, whatever you want us to talk about. Let's start with my man, Ed. Ed got a new car.
Okay.
He got a Chevrolet Silverado. I don't know if he meant to send that as a thing or he's just filling me in, but it's a beautiful new truck. Congrats, Ed. Vicky writes in, I don't have a People's Topic, but I recommended your podcast to someone else. Hey, tell a friend. That's what we always say. Thank you for spreading the good word. Ame, a good friend of the show. Ame says, where does Aaron Rodgers go? Part 2 of this, does Devontae follow? I already said this.
I was going to say, you're on the Steelers bandwagon.
I'm on the Steelers bandwagon. I said it. I've been saying it, I think, either last week or the week prior. And I think if Devontae has the choice to go, I think he goes with them. But there's always that funny little franchise tag that could mess things up. So depending on if he gets franchise tag, I think he will try to go with Aaron Rodgers.
I think there's a good chance they stick together, yeah.
Do you think he leaves or do you think he...
I think he's going to leave, man. I was pretty confident he was going to stay, but that looked so ugly. That looked so, especially how he was kind of talking about everything after the game. That looked ugly, man. I think he's gone. Where he's gonna go, I have no idea. But
if you had to just take a stab, just take a total guess, where do you think he's gonna go?
Man, I think Tennessee's pretty enticing. I think they have a lot of the weapons he wants. Solid defense. Whether they get Devontae or not, he has Julio Jones and A.J. Brown to throw to. Derrick Henry can take a load off of him. Tennessee seems enticing. I don't know if he'll go there, but Tennessee definitely has the weapons he would want. Maybe, hey, for all we know, Tom Brady retires and he goes down to Tampa Bay. I don't know.
I mean, there's a strong chance that happens. I don't know if that will happen. That's probably I don't see that happening, but I like your Tennessee pick. I think that's very possible.
Texans, maybe. I don't know. Maybe the Texans figure something out. I don't know.
I see them going to Tennessee over
there are open spots, but it's just going to be a question of
Miami.
If they want to move Tua, who knows? I don't. There are open
Bucks
spots.
one is interesting.
There are
Bucks
open
one is
spots.
interesting.
Who knows?
Yeah, we'll have to see. I missed a couple last week, so we're gonna reward those people. I'm gonna get to those guys. Our good friend of the show, Rob Marcello, he responded last week. He got it in too late. He said 2021 BRZ champion. Yes, Rob. Rob Marcello was the fantasy football champion. An upset of upsets.
Or is Andy technically the champion?
I punched the numbers and Rob Marcello won.
There we go.
Unbelievable turn of events, if I do say so myself. It was I think it was something that no one saw coming. And congrats to Rob. That was a great win.
Hats off to him.
Hats off. We'll have to have the champ back next year. This one comes from Steven 10306. He put this in last week. What New England needs to do to be better next season? Kind of talked about it last week, but
they need to get a wide receiver one. They need to fix the defensive line. They need to get more athletic linebackers. And they need to use the tight ends, man. I didn't realize this, but they were like bottom 10 in tight end usage.
I think they were like 24.
And they had Derrick Henry and Jonnu Smith. So they got to start using the tight ends and fix the defense and get a big weapon for Mac.
Yeah, I agree. I think I agree. I have nothing. Wide receiver one is huge. The more I think about thought about it after the show, that wide receiver one position is huge. They need to really try to go out and get a guy. And like we said, we looked old on the linebacking side of it, so we need to get some young, fresh, fast linebackers, get some speedy secondary help. The defensive line, to me, like, I feel I don't think that's the biggest problem on the defense, because I think Christian Barmore and what's his name, the other guy, the other defensive tackle, I think played really well. But they definitely need help on the linebacking side, linebackers, and some speed on the secondary, I think would be huge. Let's move on to our final question. It took a week. He took a week off. So he's finally back. Joseph _Celia. He writes in, Red Sox thought. What do you think is our biggest need heading into this season?
Closer, bullpen, second base. But if I had to really narrow it down to one, we need to shut the door closer, man. We need to shut the absolute door closer. Matt Barnes, I don't know what happened to him, but he lost his confidence last season, man. I'd love to have like a Kimbrel or a Koji or a Papelbon, someone that as soon as they take the mound, it's over.
Yeah, here's the thing. I think bullpen help is definitely something that we need to get in. As far as like our other positions go, I think that depends on if you sign Kyle Schwarber or if you sign what's his name, Correa. I think a lot of that depends, because you sign Correa, now you pretty much said you're moving either Correa. I think you're moving Bogarts to second base.
Yeah.
And you're rolling with that. If you sign Kyle Schwarber, you're pretty much saying you're going to roll what's his name, Kiki to second base. That's who you're moving to second as your second baseman because he was brought here to be your second baseman. Because then you can move Kyle out to left or somewhere. You have JBJ in center, and then you have Verdugo. You have Verdugo playing right. So I think a lot of that depends. Are we signing Kyle Schwarber? Are we signing? Are we getting our hands on Correa, or are we making another signing? But anyways, you figure out your outfield. If Kyle Schwarber's here, then that's your outfield, your last outfielder. You know what I mean? So If you get Correa, then you know that Kike's staying on the outfield, and probably Kyle's not coming back. So that's I think that handles your second base issue. I still think we need another starter, to be honest with you. I'm not confident in the starting rotation. They have, losing Erod, which was a guy that I trusted as far as I could throw him. I trusted him in the start. Like, at least that was like a guy that you could trust to be one of your starting five. I mean, we have a lot of starters there. I just don't try. Like, you're putting your trust in Rich Hill. Like, that's like like Rich Mountain. Like, we're hoping
it's kind of a lateral move in terms of like you finally get rid of Garrett Richards, but now this guy is going to be in the rotation. So I mentioned it we have those young guns in Siebold and Houck and Pavetta, but again, it would be nice if they got another proven guy like a Max Scherzer. Or not exactly, it doesn't have to be Max Scherzer, but a Max Scherzer who's been there, done that, and you know what you're going to get with him.
It doesn't even have to be on the Max Scherzer level. Like, it can be on the Nick Pavetta level. It can be on the Eduardo Rodriguez level. But I just don't think, like, adding another Garrett Richards to the list. And I love Rich Hill. Every time he comes here, he does his job. But I think they need more starting. And you said it, the bullpen is untrustworthy, to say the least. So getting someone to go in the back end of that bullpen, and Robles was good. I like to see them bring him back, but I think they need someone more nails to go with. Just say this: the ninth is yours, pal. Go get us 3 outs. So I think they could use him, use someone like that. So I agree. Thank you to all the People's Topic people. Remember, you can write in each week on our Instagram and Twitter pages at Big Red Zone. Give us a follow and give us a comment every week. We'll talk about it on the show. Give you a shout out. Also, you can find us on TikTok at Big Red Zone. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Big Red Zone. Hit the like button on this video if you haven't done so already. And also like all our other videos. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. And like Vicky did this week, go tell a friend. Big week, good week, Danny football, unbelievable football, and I hope we get some more this weekend with the 2 conference championship games. My thanks for you being here. Have a great week, everyone.